In the windswept town of Al-Baqarah, the air buzzed with life and whispered secrets, laden with the rich scents of spices wafting through the winding markets, where vendors called out like sirens, beckoning passers-by toward their exotic wares. The sun dipped low on the horizon, spilling molten gold and crimson over centuries-old buildings that cradled tales of love, loss, and unexplainable phenomena. It was a place where shadows danced behind every corner and folklore mingled with fact. A place where magic was not just a fantasy, but a palpable force that occasionally slipped through the veils of reality. Among its restless inhabitants was Amir Malik, a bright-eyed university student with a ravenous thirst for knowledge and a penchant for delving into the obscure. With tousled black hair framing his angular face and inquisitive brown eyes darting with curiosity, Amir often found himself lost in the pages of dusty tomes that spoke of alchemy, astronomy, and the mystic arts. He would spend hours tucked away in the town's ancient library, a cathedral of knowledge adorned with towering shelves and hidden alcoves, where the musty scent of old parchment hung thick in the air, suffused with an inexplicable energy. But the weight of existence bore down on him. Mundane university life stifled his yearning for something greater, something that glittered just out of reach. He often recalled tales spun by his grandmother, whispers of ancient spirits, unearthly powers, and the seductive call of forbidden knowledge. These stories, which once filled him with wonder, now twisted in Amir's mind, beckoning him toward an insatiable desire to explore what lay beyond the veil. One fateful day, while combing through the grey, dust-coated shelves, Amir unearthed a weathered volume, the imitation of Shams al-Ma'arif. The cracked leather cover was adorned with cryptic symbols that seemed to shift as he gazed upon them. His heart raced as he cradled the book against his chest, a forbidden fruit tugging at the edges of his soul, whispering dark promises of power and understanding. Something primal stirred within him, a deep longing to explore the shadowy underbelly of magic, a siren song that promised liberation from life's disappointments. That evening, cloistered in his room, Amir lit a solitary candle, its frail flame flickering in the gathering darkness, casting elongated shadows that twisted upon the walls like phantoms welcoming him. A chill crept through the room, wrapping around him in a cold embrace as he opened the book for the first time. The pages were filled with twisted calligraphy and archaic symbols, telling the tales of rituals that could sway fate, summon spirits, and bind the essence of life itself. With each incantation that fell from his lips, a thick tension filled the air. The room darkened, shadows stretching and swirling as if alive, eagerly consuming the meager light from the candle. Amir's hands trembled with a mix of fear and exhilaration as he recited a forbidden spell, one that promised to imbue him with unimaginable wisdom. The temperature plummeted, a sharp wind sliced through the room, snuffing out his candle, the sudden plunge into darkness sending a wave of dread down his spine. Unyielding, Amir descended deeper into the text, drawn by an insatiable thirst for knowledge. His thoughts spiraled into a haze, and he stumbled across a passage detailing a harrowing ritual involving the blood of a black cat, a sacrificial offering to summon a jinn that could grant him omniscience and dominion over the darkness he had reluctantly invoked. Conflicted yet entranced, Amir stepped out into the cobbled streets of Al-Baqarah, where evening cloaked the town in an eerie quietude. The sky hung heavy with foreboding clouds, the moon obscured, casting shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of the night. He wandered through the winding alleys, lost in thought, when a sleek black cat flickered into view, perched atop a rickety fence, its luminous green eyes locking onto his with chilling resolve. The air thickened and crackled with unspoken tension, and in that moment, Amir felt as though time itself had stilled, everything hinging on this singular moment of reckoning. Taking a step forward, Amir's heart thundered in his chest. He reached out, enveloped in a haze of desperation and dark desire that drowned out his senses. The cat let out an unearthly screech, its fur bristling in alarm as it slipped through Amir's fingers like smoke. He stumbled, breath ragged, mind racing, as the echo of its cry died harshly in the night, leaving an unsettling void. Days turned into a warped ballet of nightmares. Amir became consumed by the insatiable thirst for power. Shadows unfurled around him, wrapping tendrils of darkness around his very soul. The connection with the Jinn Queen deepened, wrapped around his consciousness like a vengeful spectre, urging him ever deeper into the arcane. The eeriness of his family's household grew palpable. His little sister Amina, once a bright spark of joy, wandered the halls with a haunted gaze, speaking in hushed tones to unseen companions that only she could perceive. One blistering night, Amir had a vision that left him chilled to the bone. He saw Amina standing at the edge of their garden, entranced by the glow of the moonlight. "They're waiting for you, Amir," she whispered in an eerie tone that wasn't quite her own. "They want to play." Her eyes glimmered with an unnatural light, as if the shadows beckoned her closer to the abyss. In that moment, joining the embrace of the supernatural seemed inevitable. One night, unable to bear the tension any longer, Amir made a pact with the Jinn Queen, binding himself to her as he viciously recited the incantations he had memorized. The air throbbed with power as he drenched the circle in blood, his heart racing with exhilaration tinged with horror. The temperature plummeted, his breath formed clouds of frost, and he felt a chill seep into his bones as a presence loomed within the darkness. A tangible force that promised knowledge but threatened to devour his soul in return. From the depths of the shadows emerged the Jinn Queen, a figure adorned in flowing black silk, moving with a grace that belied her sinister purpose. Her eyes glowed with an unsettling intensity, filled with the depth of 1,000 eternal nights. "You summoned me, Amir," she hissed, her voice a sultry whisper that coiled around him. "What is it that you seek?" He hesitated, the weight of his desires crashing over him like a torrential wave. As he stood there, vulnerability exposed, the shadows behind her flickered, revealing sinister shapes that writhed and twisted as if they were alive. His heart raced with trepidation, yet he felt as if he were teetering on the brink of the ultimate truth. Then chaos ensued. Laughter echoed hollowly within the walls, a child's laughter morphing into an unearthly cacophony as Amina stood in silent horror, her body rigid, eyes wide as she caught sight of shadows spiraling around her. "Amir!" she cried, her voice breaking with fear as the shadows began to stretch toward her, tendrils reaching like clawed hands, hungry for the innocent essence of her spirit. "No!" Amir roared, lunging forward, desperate to save her, but the shadows formed a barrier, encapsulating the moment in a suffocating shroud of darkness. The Jinn Queen laughed softly, a melodic sound twisted with malice. "What is sacrificed must shift the balance," she said, her voice echoing in Amir's mind as he fought against the darkness that now encased his sister. In that moment, Amir could feel his sanity waning, terror enveloping him as he battled against the shadows that sought to claim Amina. The room expanded and contracted, bending and warping in a grotesque dance of confusion. He reached out but found himself trapped, visions cascading around him, images of his family's laughter twisted into haunting echoes within a dark abyss. Despair spiraled into anguish as Amina's silvery laugh faded into the clutches of terror. The entity he had summoned coiled tighter, the Jinn Queen's presence becoming unbearable, thick with malevolent intent. "You believe you can defy me," she taunted, drawing energy from Amir's fear, feeding upon it. The temperature plummeted further, and he felt ice seep into his veins, snuffing out hope with each passing second. Visions of their home flooding with darkness began to plague Amir's thoughts. His parents, engulfed by sorrow, his mother's eyes clouded with despair as laughter faded from their once vibrant household. Shadows danced hauntingly outside the windows, flickering in the periphery, feeding upon the moments that defined joy, leaving only an aching void behind. With horror cascading over him, Amir turned to his uncle Farid, desperately seeking help. He sought out his family, their love begging for deliverance from the chasm he had unwittingly created. But each plea only deepened the shadows that surrounded him. Night after night, he watched Amina wander deeper into the darkness, her spirit slipping away like sand through his fingers. A slow, agonizing descent. One fateful evening, despair surged like a tidal wave. He climbed to the rooftop once more, desperate, seeking the light of a full moon hidden behind clouds. With trembling fingers, he clawed through the remnants of the now reduced Shams al-Ma'arif, conjuring memories infused with regret. His sacrifice, his quest for power that had unraveled everything he cherished. The very essence of his being revolted against the darkness, yet the Jinn Queen's influence was a chain that bound him, pulling him deeper into the depths of her malevolence. "No more," he cried, raw emotion bursting forth as he poured out his heart in anguished desperation. He gathered strength, a flicker of resolve igniting within him. "I will release you. Take what you desire in place of my family." He could feel her presence recoil. The air grew thick with charged energy, echoing with uncertainty. Would she accept his offering? But the shadows around him contorted violently, responding with a furious howl, a manifestation of exquisite pain and loss. "You think you can bargain with me?" she shrieked, her laughter spinning into a tempest of malice and rage as she poured forth chaos upon the town, a wrathful storm of darkness that tore through the fabric of reality itself. All while Amir struggled against his own helplessness. The Jinn Queen's wrath unleashed chaos as power surged and streaked through the night sky, illuminating the clouds with ghastly hues of violet and crimson. The town reverberated with an otherworldly moan as the very ground seemed to tremble beneath the weight of a curse unleashed. Shadows leapt from alleyways, manifesting as dark tendrils that snatched at unsuspecting souls, howling as they fed on the fears of the innocents. Wails echoed through the town, mournful cries that spiraled into night, cleansing the very essence of joy from Al-Baqarah. Fearing for Amina and his family, Amir raced down the spiral staircase, the wooden steps creaking ominously beneath his weight, an echo of dread as he burst through the door, only to be met with chaos unfolding before him. The whispers had transformed into shouts, ghostly figures weaving a tapestry of despair, clutching at the air and reaching for those who tried to run. Panic rippled through the night, and shadows crowded around, mingling with the cries of terror and confusion. Within the suffocating darkness, Amir found his parents huddled in fear, holding Amina tightly. "Amir," his father shouted, eyes wide with disbelief, "what have you done?" The accusation hung in the air, mingling with the suffocating anxiety that gripped the house. The shadows writhed around them, reaching for strands of hope woven into their family's fabric, threatening to snuff out every flicker of light. Each time he felt he moved forward, the shadows snarled, dragging him back, their whispers weaving tales of despair and pain. "Amir," Amina cried, her voice echoing with raw anguish, reaching for him through the veil of darkness that encroached. "Help me." She stretched her small hands, pulling against the tendrils that sought to bind her. With heart racing, Amir lunged forward, striving to cut through the darkness encircling her, desperately reaching for her innocent soul. The Jinn Queen roared with unholy laughter, drawing strength from the chaos around her, pulsing with furious delight as a cacophony of expressions flickered across her ethereal face. Shadows rippled and flickered in discordant rhythms, wrapping tighter around Amir's family, feeding on their fear and despair, each hiss and snarl announcing the approach of madness. "Let me go," Amina screamed, tears mingling with the shadows that clawed upward, threatening to swallow her whole. The jinn's laughter twisted around Amir, urging him toward hopelessness, echoing in his mind a chilling melody that promised power while ripping apart the very fabric of his existence. Drawing upon the last vestiges of hope, Amir gathered his strength, defying the encroaching darkness. "I will not give in," he shouted, voice rising over the chaos. "You have no power here." His heart roared to life with righteous fury, a final surge of defiance. Illuminated by the flickering light of an old lantern that had survived the shadows, he began to chant the sacred words, invoking the light that had been buried under layers of torment. The very fabric of reality trembled as he fought against the tide, calling forth memories of joy and laughter, happiness that lingered like a heartbeat even in the deepening shadows. In his desperation, the words slipped from his tongue like a lifeline, weaving a shield around his family, illuminating the darkness with vibrations that erupted into a symphony of harmony. The shadows recoiled, howling in agony as they fought against the light, tendrils burning and snarling as the veil began to tear asunder. Amir could feel them twist, unraveling before the unwavering resolve of love, burning away at the tendrils that threatened to ensnare his family. "I cast you back," Amir shouted, the raw conviction propelling him forward as he tethered his soul to those he loved, intertwining their fates amidst the chaos. With a formidable rush, the forces collided, light meeting darkness in a cascade of brilliance that exploded like fireworks in a midnight sky. At that moment, the Jinn Queen shrieked, a sound filled with both fury and fear, her form twisting and contorting amidst the eruption of light. "You dare resist?" she roared, and in that moment of desperation, Amir could feel her power shatter against his will, the essence of darkness unraveling before the relentless onslaught of light. Caged in her own darkness, the queen howled as the shadows folded in around her, snapping like tendrils of smoke retreating from the light. The walls shuddered, and the very foundation of his home trembled as her form dissipated into oblivion, drawn back into the void from whence she had come. The oppressive weight of dread clawing at Amir's heart began to lift, replaced by a warm glow that enveloped his family. As the shadows receded, the laughter of his family echoed through the halls, illuminating their hearts once more. The frantic atmosphere twisted into tender relief as Amina raced into his arms, her spirit unbroken, her face bright with joy against the dark aftermath of despair. But the scars of their encounter remained. As the faint afterglow hummed around them, Amir felt the lingering shadows fluttering at the edges of his consciousness, warnings that he could never fully escape the entanglements of darkness. Reality settled back into a precarious calmness, leaving them huddled together inside the walls of their home as dawn broke. Fractals of light spilling in through the windows, scattering the remnants of gloom into the corners of the room. Despite the imminent dawn, a gnawing anxiety flickered in Amir's heart, an awareness that the whispers would never cease, that the shadows would always be waiting, coiled around the fragile threads of existence, patiently biding their time for another moment of weakness, for another seeker who dared to reach into the depths of the unknown. And as al-Baqarah awakened under the first light of day, Amir understood the price of forbidden knowledge, a lingering reminder that in the pursuit of power there lies an intoxicating danger, a darkness that can lay claim to the soul, echoing through eternities. With each passing moment, the fabric of the town would weave new stories, and somewhere within the heart of al-Baqarah, shadows would remain, whispering and curling, eternally awaiting the next brave soul willing to cross the threshold into the abyss.